questions.
Okay.
All right, Sheila, I got 9:02. I could go, we could get started. I could go through a roll call. We don't have a quorum yet, but we don't have much to vote on really. So if we don't end up with one, we'll be okay. We got Roy coming in too. So. All right, let me do this. I will share my screen and go and get into roll call. This is the last slide first for everyone. Come on.
Yay, adjournment.
All right, that's not working. Let's try that again. There we go. Should work a little better. Okay, from the top. It's gonna let me. There we go. So I'll get roll call started. Ansonia.
Here.
Beacon Falls. Bethlehem.
Here.
Bristol. Cheshire.
Here.
Derby. Middlebury. Naugatuck.
Here.
Oxford. Plymouth. Prospect. Seymour. Shelton. Southbury. Thomaston. Watertown. I saw Roy join. Just to make sure he's still there. Roy R. Kavanaugh. Yep. I'm gonna assume that's a yes. Waterbury.
Here. Here.
Great. Oh, there I heard Roy. And Woodbury.
Here.
Hi, Mary Ellen. All right. So we don't have a quorum, Sheila, but that's okay. I'll keep an eye on the attendance as if more people trickle in. The only thing we're voting on today of substance is the meeting dates for 2021.
Okay.
With that,
personal preference, if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic
for which it
stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty, justice.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Naugatuck Council of Governments Transportation Technical Advisory Committee. Let's see if there's any comments from the public. If anyone from the public would like to speak, please feel.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Sheila. Didn't mean to.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Lynn DiGiovanni from Luke's to Carlo and Dahl. And I'm here just to kind of keep in tabs on what's going on in the region.
Great. Glad to have you, Lynn. Thank you. Anybody else with any comments from the public? Anyone else? All right. I guess we can't vote on the approval of the minutes or the meeting dates, but the meeting dates look good to me.
Any comments I can take now? I made a point of avoiding any holidays.
Yeah. I don't know, it seemed to be fine, but I don't know if anybody else has anything.
Has anyone joined since we took roll call? I see someone titled Public Works, and I think
that's John Cattell.
John Cattell. Okay, we have Southbury. And I think we have Plymouth as well. Yep, Charlie joined.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so we're one short of what we call of halfway there. So we'll keep an eye on it.
All right.
Can I butt in? Why are there the meeting dates? Am I confused? It says 1/26/20.
Because that's the
That
wrong year,
21
Karen.
or-
That is the wrong year. That should all be 21. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Are they the same dates as last
Sorry.
year?
No, they're not the same dates.
Okay.
So I will. I'll
Wow,
update
that's
the
good,
slide.
Karen.
I will update the slide just to make sure we're voting on the right thing.
I stared at them and thought they looked fine. Huh? That's
It
not
continues
good.
to Tuesdays?
Is a problem.
Yes, they're generally the last Tuesday of the month. Because of Thanksgiving, we ended up on the 1st of December today, but they're almost always the last Tuesday. That avoids a lot of the state meetings, which seem to always be on the first Tuesday.
Okay, well, we can't make the motion, sorry.
Nope, can't make the motion. All right, I think moving on, we could move to agenda item number 2. We have Melissa Evans here from Safety Circuit Rider, which is a Connecticut Training and Technical Assistance Center, T2.
There,
Okay.
Melissa, you should be able to share your screen if you have a presentation.
I do. I'll just introduce myself quickly before I get into the presentation. Again, Melissa Evans. I'm the Safety Circuit Rider up at the Connecticut Training and Technical Assistance Center, which most of you will know is the T2 Center at UConn. I come from a public works background. I worked for the Town of Greenwich Department of Public Works for over 20 years before accepting the position as a Safety Circuit Rider. Many of you may have known my predecessor, Tony Lorenzetti, who left spring of 2019. And I started at the center in August of 2019. So I'm not really new anymore, but I'm still new to a lot of folks who haven't had a chance to meet me or see me, especially given the 2020 that we've had. My inability to visit as many places in person as I would have liked, but I have visited some towns in your region and done some work in the region. So I have been doing as much in person as I can. With that, I'm just going to give a quick presentation on the Safety Circuit Rider program for anyone who may not be familiar or just needs a refresher. So 1 second while I get this in a viewable format here. Okay. Can y'all see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I hate when it does this. Hold on 1 second. I don't want this. It always does that. We're just going to have to go with this view here. Sorry about that. For some reason, it doesn't like that other view. So the Safety Circuit Rider program is a free technical assistance and training program provided by the T2 Center, supported by Connecticut DOT and Federal Highway Administration. We offer technical assistance on local road safety needs, assistance with local road safety plans, road safety assessments, general questions on safety for pedestrians, bicycles, vehicular traffic. If you have questions about intersections, speed limits, pavement markings, signage, any of those things, we offer assistance with. The program also offers free training throughout the year. We have an equipment loan program, which is very robust and gets a lot of business as it is. Traffic counters. We have some speed display signs, which we loan out, retroreflectometers, which people use to determine the retroreflectivity of their sign inventory. The equipment loan program, even through the pandemic, has actually been very strong. People, who don't have equipment borrow a lot of our equipment. And again, it's all free. So it's a great resource for folks who don't necessarily have equipment of their own. We also just provide resources throughout the year in the Connecticut Crossroads newsletter, which is the center's newsletter. I do a monthly Safety Matters article, and then we also have tech briefs that we put out. So, obviously our goal is to promote safety around the state. Again, you can see tech briefs, the Safety Matters articles. We highlight if there's something good going on in a particular place. We try to highlight that and give people an example of what they could do in their town. The program has a safety academy, which is where all of our training is done. Again, it's all free. Training looked a little different this year, as you can imagine. We had several things scheduled that were to be in-person trainings that ended up having to become virtual trainings, but we did get some of those done. We did National Highway Institute classes. Those were the modern roundabouts and the low-cost safety improvements, both converted to virtual. We did those in the summer and one in September. I presented along with two of my colleagues from the Safety Research Center, understanding and using data to make your roads safer, which again, we did virtually. Intersection safety and traffic incident management, it was determined just did not translate well to a virtual environment. So we have pushed those off to 2021 and we hope to get those in. Sign installation and maintenance used to be a half-day class that was offered like the rest of the classes, where we would be in a host town and folks from all over, different towns would sign up and come to the class. We've now changed sign installation and maintenance to be by request and town specific. So we've had a few towns actually have that training in the last couple of months. And it's shorter, it's a 2-hour training, and I come to the town and I only train that specific town's sign crew. So we're able to keep it down to a much smaller number, in order to comply with the mandates and be able to distance and still get some training done in person. So that's been helpful. If you participate in the trainings, the program, the Safety Academy program, once you obtain 40 credit hours of courses in the Safety Academy, you become a road safety champion. It's our way of saying, you've taken enough different classes and had enough training that we promote you as the safety champion in the state. It's just a nice little certification that we provide. And one of the things we're very proud of that we got online, it was a long time in the making. And again, my predecessor, Tony, did the bulk of the legwork on this. So kudos to him for going out and getting a lot of these examples. But we finally got this up and running on our website. So this is a repository of good safety examples from around the state. And this is on the T2 Center site under my program. Also, I think it doubles under innovation, but it's basically a library of safety countermeasures and devices that towns and cities have installed. We have them listed, as you can see on the slide, by type. So those are the 3 categories that you'd find. And we also have them listed by municipality. And I set it up that way because I felt like, somebody might not know what they were looking for specifically. You might not know that you wanted to see a pedestrian improvement, but you might know that your municipality is very similar to another that's on the list. And if you wanted to see what they were doing, to compare to what you could potentially do, it might be easier to find it that way rather than already have an idea in your head of the type of thing you were looking for. Now, usually I go out to the website, but I don't know. I think if I can do this right, I think I have to stop sharing this one because I've done this before.
I think
Yeah.
there's a change share you can do.
Yes, right. I can change that out to, okay, so if I do this, yeah, because the presentation is set up that you can click on those links, but it doesn't ever work in, it doesn't actually ever work in Zoom for some reason. So I will, okay, so this is what I want to share now. So let's see. No, it's not. Hold on.
We're seeing the website, or we were.
Okay, yeah, I just sorry, it wasn't I couldn't see it because of the thing was in the way. Hold on. I really want you to be able to see the examples because they're great. And okay, there we go. Now I can see it. So can you all see that now?
We see it, yep.
Okay, so this is our new website actually. It has a new look. And if you go under the Safety Circuit Rider program, under these helpful resources is the safety examples page. And like I said, you can look at them by town, you can look at them by type. What you get if you do that is you click, for example, on pedestrian and bicycle safety enhancements, and then you get an image of the countermeasure that's been installed with a title and where it's located. And then if you click a little further, let's say you want to look at this road diet that New Britain did, you click on that and it takes you and it provides you with the location. If there's information on the project, we do provide that. So, if there was public support, if there was, if they did a before and after crash study, that information is there if they provided it. And we also provide these logos as we have branded all of the countermeasures. If they fall into an Everyday Counts initiative, one of the EDC rounds, we have given it the EDC logo. And if they are a Federal Highway Administration proven safety countermeasure, that logo is also there. And all of these are links as well. So if you were to click on this, it would take you to the road diet page on Federal Highway's proven safety countermeasures site. So you could learn more about them that way as well. And again, this is also under the information exchange. It's under two places, just in case. We really are promoting this, and it doesn't have to be, you could see here crosswalk signing and marking enhancements in New Britain. The town of Fairfield, one of their submittals was just some low-cost countermeasures and some restriping that they did. So it doesn't have to be a big roundabout project like you also see on this page. It can be a very small, low-cost project that you did. I'm just going to put my presentation back up. But we're really promoting it because people are doing a lot of good work around the state. And, we want not only to support that and to show it off to folks, but we are encouraging people to submit projects. So if you are doing something in your municipality that, falls into one of these categories, that you believe is good work and is a good example of a safety countermeasure, I encourage you to email me, send it to me, send me a picture, send me some information, and we will get it on the site. This is a living repository, so we want to continue to update it and keep it new and fresh. And the more we have in there for people to see, the better. It's really a way for you to look at what's going on and see what could potentially work in your community. So with that, now there we go. Again, just some pictures of the things that we can do and we can provide for you. I'm here to help. Like I said, I can still come out and do some work in person. I have actually done, thankfully, more than I thought I'd be able to do given the pandemic. I've had a lot of communication from towns, and I have gone out and, with all of the protocols in place. In the lower right-hand corner is actually a road safety audit that was done with in conjunction with DOT in the town of Monroe. We had our masks on. When we were inside, we were all at a separate table, 6 feet apart. Then we were outside doing the road safety audit. I've done other technical assistance, again, with masks and distancing outside, looking at intersections. I actually was just in Shelton last week doing that very thing. So it is possible, even though we have some restrictions right now, but I am happy to help. This is my contact information, my email, and that is my office phone number. It does connect to my cell phone, but I tend to just give my cell phone number out to folks because it's easier, but I should update that slide. But if anybody wants to write it down, it's 203-898-0977. Again, the office number will roll over to my cell phone, but it's just easier if you have my cell phone number, if you actually want to use that. So that's me. That's the program. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. I'm happy to answer them.
One thing, Melissa, go ahead, Sheila.
No, go ahead. I was
just going to ask, could I share a PDF of your presentation with the group?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
All right. Thank you, Melissa. Really appreciate it. Any questions? Anybody?
This is John Cattell from Southbury. I just want to commend Melissa. We've used her here in town quite often and found her to be a very, very valuable resource. And it's helped us where we were pulling stop signs and getting some push, stop signs that didn't belong there, and was getting some pushback from some of the residents. And it helped stating the fact that, well, we had a state traffic engineer that was helping us, and these are the recommendations, and this is what the MUTCD represents. So I encourage other towns to use her. My only fear is that she's not there then when I need her right away, because I rely on her quite a bit with my guys. So I like to thank her for the services that she has provided to Southbury, and I encourage other towns to use her also.
Thank you very much. It's been good to work with Southbury. They've been a good partner.
Right. Anybody else? Anything for Melissa? All right.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me and giving me a few minutes of your time. Again, if you think of anything, feel free to reach out, call me or email me. I'm happy to come and help.
Thanks, Melissa. Appreciate it. Agenda item number 3 is hazard mitigation plan. We have David Murphy from Milone McBroom.
Yeah.
No?
David will update that, but I think I sent out in the original agenda hazard mitigation, but it's actually resiliency CT.
Yep.
Okay, thanks everybody. I'm here, and I'll go ahead and share my screen, Christian, if that's okay.
You should have permission. Yep.
And yep, so I was initially on, I was hoping to be on the agenda for Resilient Connecticut. And then I know many of you know me from the hazard mitigation plan. So if there's a couple of questions on that, we can take them. But really this presentation is to convince you that this program called Resilient Connecticut falls under your area of interest, and that is not a coastal project, that it is in fact a transportation project for all of us. So that's my job for the next 2 minutes. I hope to convince you. At the end, you can let me know if that worked. So this is funding that comes from HUD, and much of the funding that went to the state of Connecticut after Hurricane Sandy went to Resilient Bridgeport. Some of it went to individual towns, but a large chunk of it went to the CIRCA, the agency called CIRCA, which is our state's resilience agency. They operate out of Yukon, and the funding that they received was to embark on this Resilient Connecticut project. And so the long-term vision for their program is to look at conducting planning throughout the state to adapt structures and critical infrastructure in flood zones to withstand flooding. And where we can't adapt structures and critical infrastructure in flood zones, coastal and riverine flood zones, I should say, we would look at some other options to make those areas more resilient. Some big parts of this program are to develop energy, economic, and social resilience, increase transit connectivity. And CIRCA has established a concept called resilient corridors, which is essentially taking areas that may be eligible for TOD development, transit-oriented development, and kind of making them more resilient, and then connecting them with resilient corridors, rail and highway, so that over the long term, as we kind of adapt to climate change and coastal hazards and riverine hazards, if they increase, we'll have places to go and places to continue developing. So it's really looking at opportunities over the long term. It's a very long-term visionary program, not really dealing with the short term as much. So because federal funding is dispersed into counties, we're kind of forced to work with Fairfield and New Haven counties. Here in Connecticut, what does that mean? We really work with COGs in Connecticut. So we're looking at WestCOG, MetroCOG, NVCOG, and SCROG. And we are working primarily in the towns that have TOD potential. So those who are along rail lines. And so in NVCOG, that's Waterbury down to Derby. But you know, like Mary Ellen, you're on the phone, Lenny Assard, this doesn't leave you out. Even though you don't have the class of TOD potential in your town, you are part of the planning area by virtue of being part of NVCOG. So we'll be looking at projects along rail lines and highways that would possibly have indirect benefits and impacts to other towns. So stay engaged, even if you do not see yourself on this map. So we have kind of 4 primary tasks, which I'll go through in a minute: assess challenges and opportunities, look at the TOD areas, identify projects that towns can't address alone. That's where the state could kind of come in and help do some planning and implementation. And then the end of this project will be to develop pilot projects with broad co-benefits, typically found in flood zones, either coastal or riverine, but not necessarily. And I didn't say early on, but we're involved as a consultant. So although CIRCA and Yukon staff is doing a lot of the work, we're helping them from a technical aspect. So what does that mean? So what are we doing as the consultant? Well, this is one thing that we've been tasked with. CIRCA has developed a climate vulnerability assessment, which focuses just on the shoreline towns. And our job is to take that, kind of march it inland into the riverine risk towns, especially those in NVCOG, for example. And so we're going to take this so-called CVA, which looks at erosion, saltwater intrusion, et cetera. And our job is to kind of recast it into more of a climate tool. So looking at flood, wind, and heat-related vulnerabilities that are sort of bigger concerns in some ways. In a Waterbury, urban heat index, issues like that. And then in some of the outlying towns, Woodbury, Bethlehem are on the call. Wind-related vulnerabilities are what you have struggled with in the past couple storms. So our job is to kind of make that change as part of this project. And then the next thing we're going to do after we kind of retool the CVA is develop these zones of shared risk. So an example that I have here is New Haven, and it's just a convenient example because it's the one that CIRCA has focused on the most. So they had in the lower left drawn zones of shared risk. These are areas that share common challenges, and they're really focused on flood zones. And our job is to kind of take their initial work and recast it and focusing more on functional groups of people that share risks. So whereas they might have drawn an area around Long Wharf, and we agree with that one, we might see a need to draw an oval around the Fairhaven section of New Haven because everybody in that area shares the risk, which is kind of being cut off during a flood. So we'll be doing this in all the towns that I showed you in the map a couple minutes ago. So what are we going to use? The hazard mitigation plans that we've been working on in the past and presently, the regional plan, conservation and development. And we know that NVCOG still has taken guidance from the three where the towns came from prior to the COGs rearranging in 2014. We'll look at the municipal plans of conservation development and then various TOD studies and plans, kind of such as Freight Street, which is our best example, and we'll see that in a minute. From this region, it's the best example right now that we have kind of as what we're using as a potential pilot project. So think about the homework that I'm leaving all of you with is think about regional infrastructure opportunities and challenges. So we're talking about, again, highways, so I-84, Route 8, Metro North, CP rail lines, water systems, wastewater systems, sewer systems, Eversource, UI, et cetera. You guys don't have a UI town, you're mostly Eversource, I believe. But think about kind of the utilities that serve areas that we could develop and make more resilient, because we can't make an area more resilient if there's an old or aged water or sewer main that is at risk of failing. Think about where there's opportunities for transit-oriented development along rail lines. Think about kind of work that you're already doing and what you may not be able to do on your own. What can the state help with? How can you work together? I kind of just pulled this, I don't know this study personally, but I pulled it off the NVCOG website. So I cheated a little bit, but it's an example of how you're kind of working together on something that involves infrastructure. And, again, lastly, I guess, most importantly, think about areas that can be made more resilient at the same time achieving kind of co-benefits. And a good example I have from outside the region is the Meriden Green project, formerly known as Meriden Hub, which is in downtown Meriden, not too far outside the NVCOG region. This is an area that used to flood all the time, and when it flooded, it caused a lot of problems to roadways and buildings. The city has turned this area into a park, and it now accepts floodwaters that don't damage anything. The lower right-hand corner, for example, is a recent flood. Not a very bad one, but you can see how flooding that occurs now is contained within the park. What's interesting about this area is it's adjacent to the train station in the area of potential TOD development in Meriden. So think about that and then move it over a couple miles to Waterbury. Here's kind of the graphics for the Freight Street area. Is that the kind of thing that we could be looking at as a pilot project under Resilient Connecticut? I would say yes. So if you're Jim Stewart or Sheila on the phone and then Sonia and Naugatuck, hopefully this is piquing your interest. You may have areas that are along the rail line where you see some future potential for TOD development.
Absolutely.
Even if you haven't drawn a line in a map saying this is where we want to do TOD development, if it's near a river, flood risk, if there's something that makes it vulnerable, if it's utilities, if it's frequent power outages, if it's urban heat problems, if there's a shelter in the area or you want there to be a shelter, you'll start to think about how this can all be pieced together. And then we're going to take this and advance it up to Circa into the state so they can be aware of these areas and they can take more interest. At the end of this project, we're going to be coming up with 5 pilot projects per COG. And I actually believe, and that's one of the reasons why I'm on this call, NVCOG has fewer towns in Resilient Connecticut, but you're still getting a quarter of the projects. So whereas WestCOG needs to find a way to share 5 projects, NVCOG, there's 6 towns that are along the rail line, 5 projects. I think we can gain some traction here. So again, the homework is really just to think about this. We'll come back in the future and present at one of these meetings again. The contact information over at Circa is John Trzynski. And then you can always reach out to me at Milone McBroom. And that's it. So I will stop sharing. And then if there's any questions about this, or if you happen to think of something for the hazard mitigation plan, even though that wasn't my official item, I'm happy to take couple questions.
Thank you, David. Maybe we could help NVCOG spend some money. We might have some projects. I just have to beat Jim Stewart to the punch, right? Because he's on high alert now.
Yeah, I just woke up.
Anybody have any questions for David? Okay.
And David, this is Christian. If you can I circulate your presentation? I have a PDF of it here.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone.
All right. Good day. So agenda item number 4, transportation planning, regional safety plan.
Sheila, I think we have a quorum now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Brian Nesteriak has joined us for representing Seymour, and there's one other someone on a call, and I'm not sure who that is.
All right, so I'm going to look for a motion to approve. Well, actually, you have the dates up, but maybe we move to approve the minutes from September 29th, 2020. I'll entertain a motion for that. Anybody?
Okay, motion to approve the minutes of 9/29/2020.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim Stewart.
Cheshire, a second.
Second from Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Second motion I'll need is for the approval of the meeting dates.
Okay, motion to approve the 2021
Jim?
meeting dates.
Jim, motion from Naugatuck, second.
Watertown seconds.
Watertown, second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, quorum. Back to the regional safety plan. Christian?
That's right. The regional safety plan, we've talked about this regional transportation safety plan. This is what VN Engineers has completed for CTDOT. Looking across the NVCOG region, this is complement to the Highway Safety Improvement Program, which focuses mainly on the interstates. This plan looks at our local roads. They've presented to this group. Now they're in their final stages, wrapping it up. I just wanted to give an update to the group and let you all know that they are at that phase in the project. We will probably be relying on their recommendations as we go forward with any safety-related funding opportunities. That should be available soon, and I will distribute a link once I have a link to the final draft. Just as a discussion point for this group, this may be something that if we've had a chance to review it, if enough members have had a chance to look over through their towns, this might be something that the TTAC could recommend endorsement to the greater NVCOG board on. I think we would want your input before presenting that to the board. NVCOG staff have reviewed it. We're comfortable with the recommendations that come out of it. But again, a lot of these recommendations are on your local roads. So that might be something to think about before the next meeting.
All right. Thanks, Christian. Lots of program update. Karen, and Christian.
Yeah, Karen, you can jump in if you have anything I overlooked, but I'm just going to give a quick run through on the financials. This is a quick table of where we are in the project in terms of progress. We've completed 11 projects. 2 are kind of wrapping up construction. They're technically still under construction, although both, I believe, are kind of at the punch list phase. We have 10 under design, and a number of those will be moving over into the under construction list, certainly as we go into the winter. And they've been bid. Some of them have already been bid. They're just waiting to get the authorization to award. We have 5 applications that are in review at DOT. Some of them have been in there a while, just trying to fill in some small issues in the applications that we're hoping to wrap up, obviously. project by project. And then we have another 8 projects that have come before both this committee and our NVCOG board and have received that pre-approval from the COG. Any questions about that process or additions?
Christian, the applications submitted, does that include the Woodbury East Main Street that just received the commitment to fund letter?
No, it does not.
Okay, is that included in the under design then?
That would be in the under design.
Okay, right. Just want to clarify because we did get that for Waterbury, so that should be moving forward.
All right, and then this table, this chart, which I haven't showed you all for a while, but this is again in the green is you see our annual funding allocation through the LOTSIP, and in blue is our spending down of those funds. It looks a lot like it always has. There's kind of this always impending hockey stick where we catch up with our allocation. However, we've never run into that situation. So we continue to overprogram. We continue to solicit on a rolling basis for new projects, in hopes that we can spend all our money. And again, any comments, questions? I'm happy to discuss. So I guess go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Just I guess one final question I'd like to pose to the group. Just a little input or feedback. Are there things, frustrations that communities are feeling with the LOTSIP program? Things we can advocate for changes in guidelines with DOT. For example, in the past, some of the more rural towns have had problems finding enough eligible roadway.
This is John Cattell from Southbury. Yeah, I fall into what you were just discussing. My understanding is the criteria is an arterial collector. I only have 2 roads that meet that. We did away with the bridges. We were fortunate to get the one bridge in town on River Road 4 years ago, but it's like I'm on the sidelines with a lot of this stuff because I can't do projects that, I have busy roads. I have things that don't qualify for bridges where I got to put some culverts or major create bridges that aren't under the funding of a bridge program because there's no bridge there now. I have a road that's vital, River Road that goes along the Housatonic there that is going to be a multi-million-dollar project, but I guess it doesn't qualify because of it's not an arterial collector. So yes, I'm frustrated in that part.
So one thing we could look at,
I mean, there might be other funding programs for Southbury, right, Christian? I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no, not at all. You're absolutely right. With bridges,
other funding sources.
Yeah, with bridges, the opinion early on in this program is that there are other options, and we wanted to make this stretch as far as we could for roadway improvements. If you have busy roads that are functioning as collectors currently, one thing we as a COG can do is take a look at those roads and see if they should be collectors instead of local roads. So there's that question. If the need is there, we should review that. In some projects in the past under LOTSIP, we've actually flipped the local road with the collector road because they weren't functioning the way they were laid out in the federal aid network. And
what about LOSIP?
I know less about LOSIP.
Yeah, well, LOSIP and Town Aid Road could be used for some of those projects that don't qualify for LOTSIP funding.
And then, of course, recreational bike and pedestrian facilities.
Good one.
Hey, Christian.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Roy. To follow up on John's question, I would be interested in seeing if I can get a simplified criteria or outline or guidelines for evaluating roads to see about upgrades from local to collector or even minor arterial, depending on what the criteria is. over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
think-
concur on that from Southbury.
Okay, we at the COG can definitely, we've done enough of this stuff. We could put together a one-page memo with bullets of some key issues.
But this is Mark. It just a word of caution. The federal
Yeah.
guidelines for functional classification
Come from,
limits the total mileage we can have in any one class. So one of the things we have to sort of do is make sure that, yeah, if we want to upgrade a local to a collector, that we haven't gone over our sort of target mileage for collectorships in the region. But that's something we can sort of look at. And I mean, it's not a hard and fast number. So if we go over it by, a little bit, it's not, it doesn't mean we can't do it. We just have to sort of maybe justify it a little bit better. And
but the priority is collector, right? I mean, that's what this program, collector and arterial.
correct, because
Okay.
it's all federal aid eligible roads, so we follow that. So
Okay.
in the other answer I'll provide to John, and I don't know if that's going to be the case in Southbury, but the urban area boundaries are going to be adjusted after the 2020 census. Obviously, that's going to be a couple of years down before in the future before they actually make that determination. But we can sort of keep that in the back of our minds that some areas in Southbury that are currently designated as rural, maybe they become urban, or is there a good justification to extend the federal aid urban area designation to include some areas of that aren't rural, but for transportation purposes, we can identify them as an urban area. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, it's probably a couple of years down the road that we'll have that opportunity, but there may be changes coming that may help you, John.
Is there a definition of rural? I mean, of the rural and arterial and collector routes?
Yeah, there are definitions. The definition for urban and rural is made by the U.S. Census, and it's based on population density more than anything. It's not just population number; it's the the density. So that's what they sort of look at. But we also, for transportation purposes, no, traffic is not considered an identifier for urban rural. However, what I was going to say is for transportation purposes, we can sort of extend an urban area boundary to include roads that we feel should be or sort of function more as an urban road than a rural road. So that's something we can look at when the urban area boundaries are being adjusted again in a couple of years.
And if you designate it as an urban area, does that get you caught up with MS4 too?
No, I shouldn't be because in this case, what we're talking about is just for transportation purposes, which I don't think would roll over to the environmental requirements of DEEP. Now, if census makes a determination that an area is now urban, yes, that would affect the MS4. But when we're talking just strictly transportation, if we make some adjustments to the urban boundary to transportation purposes, that would not, I don't believe, affect the MS4 requirements.
I think we're a long ways in Bethlehem from qualifying for any lot zip money. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, not to interrupt you, Mark, but I think what, the programs designed, the LoCIP and Town Aid Road are designed for your local roads. It's a formula-based, as you all know, formula-based grants to the communities for their local roads. And then LoCIP is supposed to be for the arterial.
Yes.
I'm not, and there are other sources of funding for local roads, which we could probably talk about at the next.
Except that lot zip money is a different pot of money than that, and it's not restricted. I mean, the LoCIP and Town Aid Road money are statutory, and we can't get any more than what they say we're gonna.
Right. I understand for selectmen. I get it. And it's not a lot, to be honest. But yeah. Okay. Sorry, Mark.
That's fine. So, and again, we understand the concerns, and we've sort of made the comments, the conduct that, the region should have a bigger say in, what projects should be funded or not be funded, because we recognize that the limitations of that the restriction to collector and above. We would like to be able to have the ability to fund a rural project if we feel that it's regionally significant. And that should be the criteria, not sort of just that it's on a federal aid system, but the regional impact or regional need should be the overriding criteria. So we keep making that comment, and usually we aren't too successful with changing it, but we'll keep trying.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody. Any questions? Any further questions about LOTSIP? All right. Item 5, Joanna Rogalski with the emergency management update. Joanna, are you on?
I am on.
Yep.
Just give me a moment. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking a few moments to listen to the update. What I first want to talk about is a regional emergency planning team for Region 5, and that doesn't include everybody, maybe minus 6 of our NVCOG towns, sorry, 7. No, 6, I apologize on that. So one of the things I wanted to mention that there was a quote at the last REPT 5 meeting on November 16th, there was a quote that was approved. It was for $2,950 to start inspection of variable message signs in the Region 5. This is part of a larger plan to figure out which variable message signs are close to their end of use date, and putting together a maintenance and replacement schedule for equipment that is in regional ownership. Also during that meeting, related to the COVID-19 upsurge in reported cases, the Public Works Chair, Antonio Iadorola, said that the Public Works may need to set up temporary hospitals again. I haven't heard any updates on that particular statement. One of the things I wanted to mention during the November 18th Governor's Municipal Conference call, one of the towns, Durham, threw out the suggestion that they would like Public Works employees to be considered on the same level as first responders for the sakes of vaccination. So haven't heard anything how the Department of Public Health has responded to that. However, I know that there have been quite a few inquiries for Department of Public Health to define what is critical workforce, what are essential workers. So, and that's those are the major things that I have to report today regarding Public Works and emergency management.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. Any questions for Joanna? Anything? All right. Agenda item number 6, municipal shared service update, Mr. DiCarlo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much,
Good
Madam
morning.
Chair. I'm going to run through something very quickly, just an update to everybody. Several of the people on the call participate or are representatives for the towns with our household hazardous waste program. And then I have one other thing to open the floor to discussion. I know time is running late at this point. Our household hazardous waste program, as you may know, most of you know, serves 15 towns of our 19. It runs very well. There's excellent participation from nearly every town. In the last couple of years, we've run into some problems with a couple of the municipalities not sending anyone to collection events. So the household hazardous waste group had a call 2 weeks ago today where we agreed on the proposed change to the attendance protocol. Basically, the towns have to, they agreed that the towns will have to send one person to each event who can be primarily standing outside for 6.5-hour shift and also be empowered to make a financial decision on behalf of the municipality. Sometimes one of your residents will bring in a item that's either has an extraordinary disposal cost, or maybe they're over the 50-pound weight limit, and we need someone from each town to be there and say, give an approval. If the towns fail to send anyone with this new protocol, the NVCOG staff are in charge of the event is going to be responsible for determining whether or not that goes through, and the staffer typically errs on the side of allowing such disposal. Also, we have a population-based administration fee for this program. It's $15,000 spread across 15 towns, but on a population basis, not $1,000 each. And if a town fails to send a representative to consecutive collections, their fee will automatically double for the following fiscal year. This isn't a lot of money we're talking about, but having heard from towns of the last couple of years concerned about other towns not sending anyone, they felt there had to be some more skin in the game on this one. It really isn't a lot to ask a town to send a staffer 3 times a year for a 6.5-hour shift outside. The events are generally pleasant and everyone has a good time working them. We get excellent participation. It's just that a couple, like the teachers used to say, a couple of people have made things more challenging for everyone else, and that had to be brought to everyone's attention. And the mayors and first selectmen are going to have this policy in front of them at next week's COG meeting just to give their sign off as well. If anyone has any questions on this, I'll take them now.
Right.
Thank you. The only other thing to bring up, and this is something that's been brought to my attention as a potential shared service by a mayor or first selectman, as well as a public works director, more proactive people in this regard, involves the Materials Innovation Recycling Authority, MIRA. According to MIRA, this summer, there's 11 NVCOG towns that either have direct contracts with MIRA or their municipal solid waste goes there. It's been expressed to me that some people have a serious concern over the uncertain future regarding pricing and availability of MIRA's services. I want to put it out on the floor right now to gauge interest and thoughts of a potential working group and your interest in serving on such a working group, and what NVCOG might be able to do, your thoughts to better position your town for the future on this. And I'm going to leave the floor open for discussion at that point.
Hey, John, thanks. I know in Naugatuck, we have a tier 1 long-term agreement with MIRA, but they're above their opt-out provisions. So obviously we can get out at any time. We don't hear about the new rates until February, at which time we have a very limited amount of time to opt out and find a new home. I understand that their recycling contracts will all expire sometime in July, I believe, and which is going to cause their fees to go significantly increase. And we won't hear that until after our budget season is up and running and ready to go, and it's too late to do anything about. I don't expect that there's another option right now out there, but I'd love to get together as a group and contact MIRA and try to get some advanced information out of them where they think the fees are going before their final estimate, and to see if there is another option out there as a group from more than just one town.
Thanks very much, Jim. And I'd be surprised if there wasn't more interest in the group, considering, like I said, there's 11 and a few are on the call right now who either have a direct contract with MIRA or their stuff goes there and they need that facility as part of their municipal solid waste disposal. So like I said, there was actually a first selectman who contacted me during the summer and had a similar concern that they wanted us to gauge interest among the towns in what we'd like to do. So being that a lot of you are the contact for your town on municipal solid waste disposal, please let us know your thoughts now. I appreciate Jim speaking up.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, John. Anybody else? All right. Our popular agenda item, what's working, what's not. If anybody has anything for the good of the order, we will entertain questions or suggestions. I don't know, how is it, what is everyone doing? Is our public works is staggered because we've had a lot of exposures. Haven't had many actual cases, but we're just fearful that our public works department, it'll wipe out a whole department because a lot of the guys work together in teams. So what's everybody else doing? Are you back full force or anybody? Is everyone, your public works department functioning at full capacity? Dave Simpson, I know you want to help me out on this one. Somebody. All right, well,
I think Dave might have left the call.
All right, it's not that important. In any event, if anybody doesn't have anything for what's working and what isn't, we will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Watertown motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Roy. A second. from anyone?
Southbury second.
All right, Southbury, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
nay? All right, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. See you at the next meeting, which will be in 2021,
Geez, I got them all wrong.
right?
I'm not ready for next year.
Yeah, 2021. All right.
Yep.
All right, guys. Yeah, we really want to get rid of that year.
Oh, I think.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for attending.
Bye.
Aye.